Hello and welcome to another episode of the SITREP. If you, a friend or family member, is helping to take care of a veteran, did you know VA could potentially help you, the caregiver, with tons of support programs to include receiving a monthly stipend? That's right. But before we dive into the details, do me a favor and hit the like button and subscribe, which helps the SITREP with connecting veterans with the benefits they have earned and deserve.
That's right, Paul. And joining us today is Colleen Richardson, a veteran of the United States Navy and Executive Director of VA's Caregiver Support Program. Colleen, thanks so much for being here.
Thanks for having me, guys. Appreciate it.
So, caregiver support. There's actually caregiver support programs pretty large. I mean, we're talking about like over 50,000 participants or something like that are in the program.
Yeah, we have over 55,000 caregivers and veterans in our program today.
And so what exactly does caregiver support? I mean, it's kind of a vague term. So what does that really entail?
Yeah, so it entails a couple things, really. So we have two programs. One program is the program of general caregiver support, and the other one is the program of comprehensive assistance. So both programs offer all kinds of support services, so education, training, peer support, mentoring, just a variety of things that we think caregivers need to be successful in what they do every single day.
And how many people out there in the audience right now probably fall into the caregiver support program but don't realize that
they have no idea.
Yeah, that it's there for them, and that there's so many programs that from respite care to health care to travel costs, all that stuff can be taken care of by the VA.
Absolutely. A lot more than people realize. They probably don't even identify as a caregiver. I think a lot of the times people think, this is my day-to-day job. This is just what I do to take care of my spouse or significant other. And they're not even recognizing that they themselves are a caregiver. So that's what we're here to help them do and to take care of them so that they in turn can take care of their veteran.
So I think that might be a great jumping off point then, or starting point rather. By definition with the VA, what is a caregiver? A
caregiver is somebody who really just takes care of somebody with their personal care needs. It could be anything from activities of daily living, so dressing, bathing, eating, all those things. And then it could be things like taking care of their finances, shopping, reminding them to take medications. It's all of those things and so much more.
So Colleen, you spoke about two programs and they're very distinct. Why don't we talk about the general program, if you will, kind of explain that, because that's the one that most caregivers are going to qualify for. Is that correct?
That is correct. So if you identify as a caregiver, if you're providing services to your veteran every day, whether it's around medication reminders, whether it's around shopping or just those kinds of services, we want you to apply to this program. And again, it's a simple form that you fill out. We'll do an intake with you. Essentially, we'll assess what it is that you need from our program, and we're going to support you to meet those needs. So we offer training, education, we offer mental health counseling. So if you have a veteran that you're taking care of who has PTSD or traumatic brain injury or Alzheimer's dementia, we have courses that we'll offer to train and teach you more about that particular illness, diagnoses, et cetera. And then we want to support you each step along the way.
But that one is that's very broad, and I want to make sure people understand that doesn't come with any financial support. Like there's no stipend if you're a general caregiver. Is that correct?
That is correct. There is no stipend associated with that program.
So how does one then qualify for the special program or the more intense program that does come with a stipend?
Sure. So that one actually requires an application that you can fill out online. You can go to our website and find that application online. And then there are certain eligibility requirements that you must meet in order to qualify or be eligible for that program. And you can find all of those online. And we really encourage folks to look through that application and the eligibility requirements to see if they meet them. If they're not sure, they can contact our Caregiver Support Line and ask questions around that particular application, and we can help walk through the eligibility requirements with any veteran and caregiver who so needs help.
Pretty much many people qualify just to be a general caregiver.
Correct.
And help their veteran on a daily, weekly, monthly basis as needed. Very, very specific when you get into the more specialized caregiver, which comes with that financial backing. So it's important, as you said, to make sure people go through all that and then ask questions if they need to.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And so if I onboard as a caregiver, whether it's general or with a more comprehensive program, are there certain classes or trainings or certifications? Like, do I need to be CPR trained or and that kind of stuff?
You do not need to be CPR trained. You do not need to do any of those things. So what we do is, as part of that initial intake when you apply, we actually sit down with you to see what it is that your veteran needs and what skills you may also need in order to better support your veteran in the program.
Right. No, that's awesome and very, very important. I mean, there's a lot of people are going at this potentially by themselves.
Right.
Very little support, depending, especially if you live in the middle of nowhere. There's very little available to you, whether professionally or what have you. So the process, getting into the Caregiver Support Program, how does that happen?
Absolutely. So you can go to our website. You can apply if you think you qualify for the program of comprehensive assistance. So those are for our veterans whose needs with activities of daily living or medication management or supervision, protection, and instruction are really severe. They really can't function on their own without the assistance of a caregiver. We encourage our caregivers to apply to that program. You can fill out the application online and submit it that way. And while you're in the midst of that application process, we'll also offer you and really pinpoint other services that you may qualify for. So our program is just one of many ways that we help caregivers support their veterans.
So just to back up, though, real quick, the veteran themselves have to be enrolled in VA.
They do have to be enrolled in VA healthcare. That's
so for everybody out there, if you're taking care of a veteran, he or she needs to be enrolled in VA healthcare in order to be eligible for this program.
That's correct. And so you can find all the eligibility requirements online because between the two programs, the program of comprehensive assistance, there are a set criteria or eligibility criteria that you have to meet in order to be eligible for that particular program.
In roundabout, I mean, so the veteran that I love and adore needs help at home. I'm trying to get into the Caregiver Support Program to get that extra support. About how long does the process take? Is it a long wait, or is this something that can happen pretty quick?
So you can get into the general program right away. Okay. The program of comprehensive assistance, if you're eligible and qualify, we process 98% of our applications in under 90 days. So it's a pretty quick process to get in to PCAFC as well.
Awesome.
Now, if I'm taking care of a veteran and I become a caregiver, does that deter them from other professional support, either from the VA or from outside? So I guess my question is, once I'm a caregiver, does that mean they're not going to get other services because I'm their caregiver now? Or do they still get, the full gambit of both VA or outside services as deemed necessary?
I think it depends on the particular service. So if you, the caregiver, are providing the in-person personal care services, and we're paying you to do so, you may not qualify for some other services that VA may be offering. We use a tool, if you will, to determine the amounts of services that you may qualify for as you go through the application process. And before you're accepted into the program, we tell you you will no longer qualify for A, B, and C, but you will qualify for D, E, and F. So we try to make it very clear before they make the acknowledgement of, yes, I want to be in, or no, thank you, I want to continue with what I already have. So we can help them through that process.
But it doesn't preclude, obviously, things like, okay, if the veteran is receiving in-home OT, PT, speech, whatever, nursing care, all that continues. You're just their caregiver support person.
Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
So is there a limit as to how many caregivers a veteran can have?
So when you're in the program of comprehensive assistance, you can have up to 2 caregivers. So your primary family caregiver, and then you can have secondary family caregivers as well in the program. The primary family caregiver is the caregiver that we pay through that stipend that I mentioned. The primary family caregiver is the only one, if eligible, that can receive CHAMP VA, beneficiary travel, et cetera.
So you mentioned that some caregivers may be eligible for CHAMP VA. Mm-hmm. Can you explain what exactly is CHAMP VA and how would you be eligible, and what does it give you? Like if I'm eligible for it, so what? What does it offer me? Yeah,
so CHAMP VA is, and I'm obviously not an expert on CHAMP VA, but CHAMP VA is health care for our caregiver. So it's like having health insurance for them if they don't already have health insurance. So if they have health insurance through TRICARE, they wouldn't necessarily be eligible for CHAMP VA. So CHAMP VA really just offers them an opportunity to have health insurance through our program.
So it's kind of a situational thing all right.
Yeah.
And they would is that part of the onboarding process, if you will, with you guys? Like you would check their eligibility, and if they are, you would help them.
We get them referred to Champ VA.
Get them into the program?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Earlier in our conversation, you also mentioned respite care, and maybe not everybody out there knows what respite care is, but it's an awesome tool that the VA provides. So if you could kind of dive in that a little bit.
Yeah, so respite is a very underutilized service within our program and across VA as a whole. I think our caregivers are so used to just doing the work day in and day out, they just forget to take care of themselves all the time. It's just not uncommon. So respite is our opportunity to allow them to have a break. So it could be just a couple hours for break. It could be 24-hour care that they potentially need for someone to come into their home and take care of the veteran while they themselves take a mental health break or take, I don't know about most of our caregivers, but I like to just go to Walmart by myself without my children. That is my respite from all of that, walking around Target or walking around Walmart, whatever it is, a cup of coffee on the back porch, reading a book. Yeah. So we bring folks into the home to help take care of their veteran. So that's one less thing that they can worry about and focus on themselves.
And there's other programs they can take advantage of as well, as like adult day care and
adult
all that kind of stuff.
Veteran-directed care, if that's offered at their VA facility, which I know there's a push for that this year. There are a lot of other services that they can take advantage of too, but we offer no less than 30 days a year to support them.
But anybody that's a caregiver, they'll get all this information as they onboard as a caregiver?
Absolutely. So we have an intake process. So when you apply to our program, either one of them, you get an intake. And during that intake, we look at what it is that the needs are of you and your veteran. And then we try to put together a plan for you and tell you what we think is going to be the best services for you to take advantage of, if you will, to help you and your veteran as you go through the program. So we do that right from the outset of the program.
And how malleable is that? I mean, because our health changes
all the time.
So,
absolutely.
As things get better or potentially worse for the veteran that we're caring for, how does the program change?
So we check in with our caregivers and veterans at least once every 120 days, just do a wellness check, find out how things are going for them, what other services that they need. We put consults in for them if they need it, if they're eligible for certain things that they're not getting. We come into their homes to make sure that their homes are safe. We have caregivers, when our caregiver support team comes into the home, identify particular needs that a veteran may have. For example, we just recently had a veteran who couldn't get out of his chair, and the caregiver could not physically lift him out. They put a chair lift in as a consult, and he was able to get that ordered and into the home. So our team does a lot from helping them from all aspects.
Nice.
Yeah.
What should a person, I guess my question is, how bad does a veteran need to be in order for me to qualify for a caregiver? So if somebody out there is saying, okay, yep, I go over and take care of my veteran. They're not, totally housebound, but they do need some help. Do you guys help them determine whether they're qualified or not? Should everybody just, really reach out and see where it stands and you guys help them make that decision?
Absolutely. So if folks are interested, they can go to our website. And I think right there is where they can figure out which program they may qualify for. So the Program of General Caregiver Support Services, anybody qualifies as if you identify as a caregiver. So you can apply to that program. It's really not an application process, if you will. It's just a form that you fill out, and then we call you and we identify what it is that you need for this particular veteran in order to help care for him or her. And then the other program, like I said, it has certain eligibility requirements that you have to meet. It is for our more moderate to severely veterans who need caregivers. But if you identify as a caregiver, we will help you in our program.
Okay. And I think that's important because there's probably people out there saying, well, my veteran isn't that bad.
Correct.
I do have to go over there so many days a week or whatever, but he or she can take care of themselves most of the time, but they still may be eligible under like you said, the basic one.
Absolutely. Yeah. And we want to support them no matter what. So, yep.
So if you're taking care of a veteran, go to the website and figure out, exactly whether you qualify or not.
And I think a lot of the times too, our caregivers need that training and resources too. So as our veterans are aging, we have more of our veterans facing ALS, MS, dementia, Alzheimer's, et cetera. We offer groups to teach our caregivers more about these particular diagnoses, including PTSD, traumatic brain injury, et cetera, so that they know what they need to do to be better at caregiving. And most of our caregivers do a tremendous job, but I think the more tools we give them in their toolbox, the better off they're going to be in the long run and feel more supported by us. And that, at the end of the day, is our primary goal. Let me support you so you can do what you need to do each and every day.
And I imagine, because you've spent some time in the private sector, we won't name drop or anything, but this has got to be an entirely unique program to the VA. I can't imagine that there's anywhere else, because even off camera, we were discussing you were discussing the fact with us that there's mental health care and all sorts of other things that are available for caregivers, if you want to dive into that a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the things I think is a no-brainer is our caregivers are stressed. Taking care and being a caregiver is a very tough and difficult job to do. And some of our caregivers do this 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. There is no break for them. And so we know, and we've heard, and I've done some listening sessions with our caregivers across the country in the last year, they've said, we need mental health too. And while we offer it at our local VA medical facilities, a lot of our veterans also need that care. So the shortage of there's just not enough providers for everybody. So what my program office is doing this year is funding our own mental health providers for these caregivers. So we hope to have that. We're going to offer it through virtual resource hubs. We've partnered with the Office of Mental Health and Suicide Prevention. We're going to hire 54 mental health providers dedicated solely to our caregivers so that we can get them the help and the support that they need through mental health counseling.
Nice.
Yeah, because I would imagine, you talked about the everyday stressors, but I know in my personal situation and both my family and my wife's family, it wasn't only the daily care, but there's other things that come into play, financial decisions and groceries and what are dietary considerations. You don't realize just how in depth it can become very, very quickly. And then the stresses of dealing with other family members who may not agree or understand what you're doing with the veteran or whatever. So yeah, it's definitely a job, not for the, that's tough on everybody every single day.
Yeah, I mean, if you think about what we do every day as humans without caregiving, that's daunting enough these days. And then you add taking care of somebody on top of taking care of your children, managing your finances, cleaning your house, grocery shopping, going to work.
Right.
Then you add this on top. And it's not that anybody sees it as a burden. It's just one more thing. And so if we can alleviate one thing for you, that's what we're going to try to do. And I think to your point, you said something about finances.
Right. Taking care of the veterans, somebody has to do it now.
Yeah.
Right.
One of the things that we offer in the program of comprehensive assistance is legal and financial services. So planning, estates, wills, et cetera. We offer that to help our caregivers and our veterans manage some of those things.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that.
That's really big.
Yeah.
I know personally that's the one that trips everybody seems to get all nervous when you start talking about end of life and finances, and yeah,
those are tough discussions to have with anybody at any point in the game.
And a lot of veterans don't want to have those conversations. They're obstinate about many of those decisions.
Yeah, it's a tough discussion.
So speaking of finances, something that we've kind of hinted to or alluded to quite a few times is the fact that some caregivers may qualify to receive a stipend from the VA, which is kind of bananas. Mm-hmm. So if you could talk more about that, how does it work and who qualifies?
Absolutely. So this was something that was enacted many years ago when our post 9/11 veterans were coming back from the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan. What the program in Congress realized at the time was that these caregivers, if you will, moms, dads, brothers, sisters, sons, daughters, were taking care of folks, but giving up their careers to do so. Mm. You can't survive if nobody's making any money, right? The veteran is no longer on active duty. The caregiver is no longer working. So they put a stipend together. And so it depends on the area. It's paid on a GS4 pay scale. And then you get the locality pay like you would with any area in which you live. So if you live in San Francisco, obviously that money is going to be a little bit higher to meet the cost of living there versus if you live in a small rural town, that the cost of living associated with a GS4 will be a little bit lower.
And is it also the onboarding process? Like you'll take them through all of that and assist them with doing it? And
Absolutely. Okay. Absolutely. And if they're interested, again, the 10 steps and all the things that you want to know about this program, specifically the program of comprehensive assistance, is on our website. So you can go through and you can check yourself. Do I meet 70% service connection? Is my caregiver over the age of 18? Are we going to reside in the United States or one of the U.S. territories? All of those things they have to look at to see if they qualify for. And we encourage them to do so before they apply to the program. And again, if the answer is, no, I don't really qualify for that program, that's okay. We're going to take you into our other program and we're going to help you no matter what.
So this is a program that can be utilized in Guam, Virgin Islands, Puerto Rico.
Northern Marianas. Exactly. Yep.
Wow. Okay.
Washington, D.C.
Washington.
Let's talk about if, I'm a caregiver and now my veteran has to go into the hospital, whether it be for surgery or for something else, and now they're going to have an extended stay at a medical facility. What does that do to me as a caregiver? How does that affect my status?
Yeah. So again, if you're in the program of comprehensive assistance, that's the one that's associated with CHAMP VA, the stipend, Benny travel, et cetera. What we say is if you know that the veteran is going to go into the hospital, and we know from the outset it's going to be greater than 90 days, then you more than likely will no longer qualify for the program because you are no longer providing those caregiver services. The other entity or hospital or facility or wherever he or she is going is providing those services. I think it gets unique in every situation because some veterans go in and they don't know how long they're going to be there.
Right.
So at that point is when we make the decision on the 90th day of institutionalized care, whether that's, hospital care, mental health care, et cetera. That's when a decision will be made as to whether or not the veteran is no longer qualified and or the caregiver for that particular program. So we try to look at them at each uniquely, right? We try not to make too many determinations up front, but if we know that a veteran is going to go into a neurorestorative facility for greater than 90 days, let's say 120 days, then that veteran and caregiver will be discharged from the program at that point. They can always reapply in the future if they feel like they qualify for the program in the future or the veteran is no longer living outside of the caregiver's care.
Colleen, really, really appreciate you coming on the show. Lots and lots of great information. And you said there's a support line. You have the website, which is chock full of information, right? And we'll have details for all that stuff down in the video description below. So be sure to check it out. And remember, there's two different programs. One is, kind of basic. One is way more comprehensive. So go through it. See what it is that you might be able to utilize to take care of your loved one at home. And as always, make sure that you like and subscribe so that we can make sure that you stay connected with the benefits you've earned and deserve. Hey everyone, connecting with your benefits is our primary mission, and the SITREP offers more options than ever. Subscribe to our email newsletter, subscribe to our podcast, or subscribe here on YouTube. For details and links, check out the description below.